you don't really need a trust. Hi, I'm Neil Tyra. I'm an estate planning attorney in Rockville, Maryland, and I do estate plans for regular folks like you and me. And part of that process is I'm one of the few attorneys in the area who generally argues or advocates that you don't really need a trust, that a will is perfectly sufficient. So today I'm going to give you 4 reasons why you don't need a trust. Number one, you don't need a trust if you're trying to avoid probate. As I've said in other videos, probate is not a process that should be feared or shied away from. It can it take a long time? Sure, it can take a long time, but administering a trust can take even longer. So if you have a fairly straightforward estate, a will is perfectly sufficient, and you shouldn't have any concerns about having to avoid probate if that's your only reason for using a trust. Number two, you don't need a trust if you're trying simply to avoid paying taxes, if that's your primary reason. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't pay estate taxes unless your estate is worth more than $12 million. And for most people, that's not us. And so you're not going to pay estate taxes anyway. Most states don't have a estate tax. Now, Maryland, where I live, does have an estate tax, but it has a $5 million exemption. So again, you don't need to use a trust if you're just simply trying to avoid paying taxes. Number three, you don't really need a trust if you have an uncomplicated distribution pattern. So say you have a wife and 2 grown children, they don't have any issues or problems, no drug problems, they're able to handle money fine, just regular folks, the regular family, like most of us. You want everything to go to your spouse, and if they predecease you, for the rest of it to be divided evenly between your 2 children, well, that's pretty straightforward, and a will can do exactly that. You don't need to go to the trouble of creating a trust. And last, number 4, you shouldn't create a trust if you're not good at following up. A trust is kind of like a safe or a treasure chest. It is very fancy and very secure, but if it's empty, it's worthless. So in a trust, you have to do a lot of things to fund the trust. You have to retitle your property. You have to redirect beneficiary statements to pay to the trust. And so there's a lot of follow-up that you have to do. If you're not good with that, if you're a procrastinator like me, then a trust is not for you. If you want to discuss more about whether you should use a will or a trust as your estate plan, our information is at the end of this video, and I'd be happy to talk with you. Again, my name is Neil Tyra. I'm an estate planning attorney in Rockville, Maryland. I do estate plans for regular folks like you and me.